Yeah, so now that we know Jordan is out of the political race due to the Gary stabbing, him being investigated as a potential suspect, and his connection with Andi, who is not technically, but let's be honest here, the way she's been put in the news is potentially a prime suspect. Um, yeah, this doesn't make a lot of sense. He's out of the race. Gary's out of commission. We know he's going to recover based off of, new episode synopsis information, but let's just talk about what we know now, not what's happening in the future. All right. So up until this point, we're talking about season 8, episode 6. Well, actually, I do need to make a point to talk about episode 8 when Gary is said to recover, then episodes 10 and 11 when he's back in action and Andi is feeding into his delusion so he doesn't go cuckoo. Um, does it even make sense for Andi to have to still marry Gary? Because, like I said, Jordan's already out of the race, but you could argue that Gary's recovery and maybe because he's going to try to, make good on his threats and all still, that could be why she would still have to marry him. But unless Jordan is exonerated of, any sort of scandal with the stabbing, he wouldn't be able to re-enter the race. So let's just say for simplicity's sake, Jordan is unable to rejoin the bid for city council. All right. So his goal is already done. All right. So if you go back to season 7, the cliffhanger ending where Gary confronts Andi in the parking garage, he makes it clear of 3 things. Number 1, if you don't marry me, I will release all the photos and videos I have of Jordan with these drugs and hookers, prostitutes, and all this stuff. Number 2, I will engage the cartel, tell them about his ill-fated dealings with the money, the $100,000, right, that he donated to the campaign, which came from the cartel. That he mishandled their funds, and as a result, they will probably come for him, probably even kill him. And number 3, and if that all else fails, I will continue effing with him until I make his life a living hell, or he ends up dead. And unless you and Penelope start your little Hardy Boy routine trying to bring me down, you will end up like my baby, aka dead. So, in reality, it doesn't make sense for Andi to still have to be with this dude because everybody should know the truth, maybe, but I doubt it. And then on top of that, it really depends on if Gary reveals who actually stabbed him. I mean, if he's like, Andi, I have all this evidence now. So, I mean, this could feed into the theory of maybe Hudson is behind everything in terms of, or maybe Hudson and Gary are behind this scheme where the stabbing was a setup and the heroin laced with fentanyl was a setup because remember, it just so happened that Andi was in the room where it happened, the room where it happened. So it looks like she could have done it. So that's why Agent Watt could be trying to drag her behind to the police station in the next episode. But yeah, maybe Gary's scheme is, well, you know what? All else fails. Guess what? Guess what? Um, Everything that happened to me in the hospital, it kind of looks like you did it, Andi. So when you really think about it, you got to marry me, or I could drop the hammer down on you for stabbing me, and then you're going to prison. That would be brilliant because you could argue that Hudson and Gary reworked their scheme because when Karen, Sabrina, and Danny showed up to the wedding and they basically told Hudson, what you gonna do? Hudson probably went to find Gary, tell him what happened, and then they reworked the strategy. Yo, you gotta stab me. Huh? Yeah, you gotta stab me. What? Don't worry. I got a plan. Can you imagine if that's the case? That actually makes sense now that I think about it because everybody's like, where did Hudson go? He said he was going to find Gary. And there was that time skip, but it would be crazy if that's what happened. It's like, yeah, okay, so the girl's showing up. All right. Okay, you got that Sabrina. She's ditzy. Karen was the one with the mouth, but Danny, I don't know, something about her. I think she's smarter than she lets on. So we need to come up with a backup plan. Case in point, remember Danny was the same one who figured out the exact plan before they even arrived at the venue. So I definitely feel like it does make sense that the whole theory of Hudson and Gary working things out themselves as a contingency. So, hey, I go in the hospital. You're going to get me, get me hit with this heroin with the fentanyl, but make sure Andi's in the room. Remember, oh, you know what? I had a change of heart. Yeah, you should go in there and see your fiance. And it just so happened that when she goes in there, that's when Gary goes, into a seizure. So now it's like, well, Andi, you got to marry me now. So what if his campaign is already torched? At least I got you, right? So that's what I'm thinking. It makes sense. So yeah, let me know. Do you still think Andi has to marry Gary now that Jordan is already out of the political campaign? And yeah, this does. I'm interested now to see how this is going to play out. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.